Marijuana Nation, just a quick reminder about this week. We'll be publishing today, obviously, and tomorrow, but we'll be down on Thursday and Friday due to office space issues, mainly that my house is still being fixed after my big boiler blow up last week. And assuming nothing else happens to mess up our schedule, we will be returning to a full 4-day per week publishing schedule starting next week. Again, thanks for the assumed patience with all of this. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Agilent, a Fortune 500 company known for providing top-notch testing solutions to cannabis and hemp testing labs worldwide. Are you considering testing your cannabis in-house for potency? Agilent is giving away a free 1260 HPLC system for 1 year. If you're a cultivator, processor, or cannabis testing lab, you may qualify for this giveaway. By using Agilent's 1260 HPLC for potency testing, you will gain immediate access to your data, know exactly when to harvest, and increase your sample throughput. Don't miss out on this very cool giveaway. Swing over to bit.ly/cannabis-contest to answer a few quick questions to enter to win. Again, that's bit.ly/cannabis-contest. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021, and you're tuned in to episode 1025 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Mr. Tom Angel over Marijuana Moment has our top story on the day with a big headline out of Virginia, where on Saturday, state lawmakers managed to pass a law legalizing adult use marijuana just hours ahead of deadline. Unfortunately, the compromise plan hammered out by the Senate and House of Delegates does not actually make cannabis legal until 2024. That means that marijuana sales are still not allowed in Virginia, and it means that possession is still not allowed. So people are going to keep getting arrested and locked up for cannabis for the next 3 years. And given the well-studied racial disparities in the enforcement of marijuana laws, that means a lot more black and brown people are going to be thrown into the chaos of the state's criminal justice system. I would suggest reading this story in full to get all the details, though I guess you don't really need to hurry too much given the languid pace that the Virginia lawmakers are seemingly moving at. As we always do, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Keeping the Marijuana Moment train rolling is Kyle Yeager with an update out of Washington, D.C., where there are now 2 competing measures being pushed by city leaders to legalize adult use marijuana. The city of Washington, D.C. is demographically progressive, but unfortunately is under the direct control in a lot of matters by the federal government. So over the last 6 years or so, as the city has tried to roll out more progressive marijuana laws, it's been stymied by Republican lawmakers in Congress, who like to talk a lot about the value of home rule, but rarely carry it out when it goes against their interests. But now that the House and Senate are both in control of Democrats, the window is open for D.C. to throw off cannabis prohibition. Kyle's piece looks at the proposed legalization bill just introduced yesterday by D.C. Council Chair Phil Mendelson, which follows another proposed piece of legislation put forth by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. Both plans are similar in scope with some competing provisions over taxation, licensing, and social justice programs. Given how influential it would be for the nation's capital to have legal cannabis shops, this is a story I definitely maintain a good handle on. So, you guessed it, another one you should read in full. Ben Adlin, one of our new regulars over Marijuana Today, has a good check-in on New Mexico to finish up today's top stories, where last week lawmakers in the House passed a proposed bill to legalize adult-use marijuana sales. There are currently 3 competing legalization bills in the New Mexico State Senate, and on Saturday, a legislative committee met to begin discussions around how those 3 bills can be merged legislatively with the newly passed House bill. Ben's story picks up on that and the work pledged this week by the 3 sponsors of the Senate bills. There's a lot of momentum in New Mexico to legalize adult use, but this year's legislative session does end in just a couple of weeks, so we'll see how this plays out one way or another this month. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Agilent, a Fortune 500 company known for providing top-notch testing solutions to cannabis and hemp testing labs worldwide. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Agilent is giving away a free 1260 HPLC system for 1 year. If you've been considering testing your cannabis in-house for potency, then you need to listen up. Swing over to bit.ly/cannabis-contest to enter for your chance to win. When you use Agilent's 1260 HPLC system, you get instant access to all the right data about your cannabis, which narrows down exactly when you should harvest. That means you don't spend a minute more growing your flower than you need to, and that you'll harvest your crop at its peak. One more time, swing over to bit.ly/cannabis-contest to enter your company in for a chance to win 1 free year's use of Agilent's 1260 HPLC system. Big thanks to everyone at Agilent for the support that helps us keep the news lights on. All right, time for the Blitz. Bruce Barcott over at Leafly has a lighter look looking at the U.S. launch of Houseplant, the cannabis brand started by actor and noted cannabis consumer Seth Rogen. Rogen's new marijuana strains can be found right now in California, though I'm sure we'll see soon enough a more national rollout. Rogen is about as A-list as you can get when it comes to famous marijuana celebrities, so I think this is a decent story to track to better your understanding of the evolution of the cannabis marketplace. Multi-state cannabis operator Cresco Labs has filed a preliminary prospectus to raise up to $1 billion in investment over the next 25 months. You might remember a similar headline we carried a week or so ago with Canadian giant Canopy, with its plans to raise up to $2 billion. So Cresco's raise is a big one. Michigan has made it easier for people to get adult use marijuana business licenses by removing the requirement that applicants already hold medical marijuana business licenses. The changeover to the new system happened yesterday, which means that anyone can now apply in Michigan for legal cannabis retailer, processor, Class B and Class C cultivator, and transporter licenses. Canadian company Cronos Group just released its latest quarterly and annual fiscal results. For the fourth quarter of 2020, Cronos Group pulled in net revenues of $17 million, a jump of 133% sequentially. That was unfortunately overshadowed just a bit by a net loss of $111 million. For the year, Cronos reports net revenue of $37.2 million, up over 2019's $16.8 million, with a net loss on the year of $75 million, a big drop versus the $1.1 million the company lost the year before. Massachusetts-based multi-state operator Ascend Wellness is buying up the bulk of the New York operations of embattled company MedMen. Ascend will pay $63 million for an 86.7% stake in MedMen's New York facilities, with an option to buy the rest for $10 million after adult use is legalized in the state. MedMen has struggled in recent years as it's been fairly battered by scandal, controversy, and slipping revenues and stock prices. We end the day on a trippier note with psychedelic medicine company Novamind reporting its Q2 fiscal results for the 3-month period ending December 31st. Novamind, which is working on psychedelic therapeutic treatments, mainly out of facilities located in Utah, reported quarterly revenues of $1.28 million, up 47% sequentially. That stacks up on a net loss of $3.57 million, up from the $493,000 lost in the first quarter of the fiscal year. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Agilent, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.